So we're going to make gluten-free bread using 50% faba bean flour. So the first step is to add water, and this is 400 grams. This water is at 30 degrees Celsius. And then add 9.5 grams of yeast and 26 grams of sugar. And just give this just a quick stir, just to make sure there's no yeast on the side of the bowl. And we're going to let that sit and proof while we mix our dry ingredients. So we're going to use a mix of white rice flour, tapioca starch, and potato starch. And to that mix, we're going to add faba bean flour at 50% inclusion level. So we're going to add 150 grams of white rice flour, and then we're going to add 50 grams of potato starch, and then 20 grams of tapioca starch. So then we're going to add 220 grams of faba bean flour. So faba beans are a unique pulse because they're extremely high in protein. We see levels in the mid-30s, like 30% to 35%. And Canada's currently increasing their acreage. So there's going to be more food-grade fabas available. So we'll just add that. And we just give that a quick mix, just to blend the flours. To our gluten-free flour mix, we're going to add 16 grams of whole egg powder, 9 grams of egg white powder, 7 grams of xanthan gum, and 9.5 or 9.5 grams of salt. And again, you just mix this so it's combined. So the next step is to mix our wet ingredients. So we're adding 5 grams of cider vinegar, and then 60 grams of canola oil. Just give this a quick mix. I'm just going to add my yeast and water and sugar to my canola oil and vinegar, and then my dry ingredients as well. So we're going to let this mix for 2 minutes, and after 1 minute we're just going to scrape down the sides. Again, because there's no gluten, we don't get like elastic properties of dough that make it easier to work with. And gluten-free dough is more similar to a batter, or this is almost, people describe it having texture similar to icing, so just slightly thicker. You can't use the same processes that you use with wheat dough. And then just let it mix for another minute. So the mixing time is really short for these just because we don't have to have gluten development. So after 2 minutes, we can put it in the pan. A lot of pulses have distinct aromas associated with them, and you can smell them when you're mixing and proofing. But when you bake, a lot of those volatiles bake off, so you don't get the strong aromas and flavors. So I just use a wet knife to smooth the top. And then we're just going to let this bread proof for 30 minutes. So this is the 50% Faba beans. So it's been proofing for 30 minutes. So now we're gonna put it in the oven for an hour at 375 degrees. So after an hour, we'll take our bread out. The presence of lysine in the pulse flours results in darkening during baking. It doesn't affect the flavor. A way that we reduce the amount of browning is we can cover during baking, or you can adjust the baking times and temperatures in order to give a lighter crust color.